Welcome back to Mr. Wicklam's Virtual Math Classroom. Today what we're going to be looking at is number sets, and we're going to be looking at a couple of, of different topics today. Two ways of sharing, two ways of dividing, dividing by skip counting, and we're going to look at remainders, what's left over after we divide. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to look at two different ways of sharing. So the first way, Bob has 12 Mars bars and wants to divide them between himself and 3 friends. How many does each friend get? Okay, so usually, I got a little chart down here. Usually what is being shared is the biggest number, or the total. Okay, so in this case, what do you think is being shared? If I say it's the biggest number or the total, the biggest number or the total is the 12 Mars bars. So the 12 Mars bars are being shared. Okay? Now, what we want to know is we want to know how many sets, or in this case, in A, how many friends, because we want to know how many we need to give Mars bars to. Okay, so how many are we giving Mars bars to? So that's how many sets there are. So how many people, because it's himself and 3 friends. So we have 4. And what we want to do is we want to know how many are in each set. Well, if you can do some simple multiplication, then you know that 4 times 2 equals 12. No, 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 3, so you skip count. 3, 6, 9, 12. I have 4 fingers raised, and I'm counting up by 3s, and so therefore there are 3 in each set, which means that the friends each get 3 Mars bars. That's what that means. Okay, if we were to write that out as a division statement, it would look something like this. 12 divided by 4 equals 3. We want to know how many each person gets. Well, it's going to be 3. Okay, let's look at B. B says there's 12 Mars bars. They each get 3. Okay, how many friends get Mars bars? So what's being shared? The 12 bars. Okay, now we know that they each get 3, so we know that there's 3 in each set, because if we take a look at it even and we draw out the circles and we have 4 circles and we divide them up evenly, we know that you're getting 3. And so how many are in each set? Well, we saw 3. So how many sets are there? Well, if we do 12 divided by 3, so what we need to do is we can skip count up by 3 again. 3, 6, 9, 12. 4 fingers up, my answer is 4. This one, what I would do is I would skip count by 4. I apologize. So 4, 8, 12. I have 3 fingers up, my answer would be 3. Okay, this is just to prove that there are 2 different ways of finding the same answer with division. Okay, if you look here, 12 divided by 4 equals 3, 12 divided by 3 equals 4, but yet we were still getting the same answers up here. Okay, so there's 2 different ways of sharing. So what the book's going to ask you to do is we're going to be looking at it, and we're going to look at sharing the squares equally among the sets. These are the sets. Okay, we need to share the squares equally. So what I would suggest doing until you get comfortable with it, you can skip count. You can take a look and say, okay, I got 3 circles, how many squares would fit into each? Or just do 1 square at a time. So I got 3. I'd just cancel out 3. Let's do that again. I look at it, I still have more, so I can do 3 more. And I have 3 left. That's exactly how I would share those squares equally. What I would do is I would just do them 1 at a time. Or if you can take a look and you count the total, you know you have 12. Oh, I got 3 circles. So I could just skip count by 3. 3, 6, 9, 12. And I would figure out how many are in each circle. Okay, skip counting is going to play a huge part in division, because skip counting, it's like multiplication, right? Because division is the opposite of multiplication. What happens with division is you always get the total, and then what you need to figure out is you need to figure out what either the how many sets there are or how many are in each set. With division, you always get the total. You always get the total. With multiplication, you have to find the total. That's why division's a little bit different, because you start with the total, whereas with addition, subtraction, and multiplication, you have to find the total. But with division, you start with the total, and then you need to find one of the numbers, one of the factors, okay, one of the terms. That's what you need to do. So that's why skip counting is going to come in huge when we do when we do division. And when we look at division, dividing by skip counting, and we take a look here, and we have 5 circles, right? So we have 5 circles, and we have 4 in each circle. And really what division is skip counting. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. That's what division is. It's skip counting. That's what multiplication is. Multiplication is skip counting. Okay? And the better you are at it, the easier that it's going to make it. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. So I have 20. My total, I know the total number of dots is 20. There's the total right there. So we're dividing by 4 because this is the number that we're adding each time, because that's how many are in each set. So in each set is 4. We call that the divisor. All right, because we're dividing by 4 to figure out what the answer is. So in addition, it's the sum. In subtraction, it's the difference. In multiplication, it's the product. And in division, it's called the quotient. So the answer is called the quotient. Okay? And so that's the amount of times that you have to add. Well, how many times do I have to add? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so there's 4 in each set, and there's 5 sets altogether. Okay, I just accomplished that through basic skip counting. I didn't do anything special in order to get to that. I just counted, and I just counted in my head, and that's really all skip counting is just counting in your head. So you're going to see a problem where you're going to have 12 divided by 3, and what you're going to see is you get the total. So skip counting comes in handy. 3, 6, 9, 12. So if I skip count and I look at my fingers and I put a finger up each time I skip count, I will have my answer, and my answer is 4 because I'm adding 3 4 times. Now what it might do is it might have you use a number line. So the jumps that we're making are going to be jumps of 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, because I need to get to 12. So I made 1, 2, 3, 4 jumps. So 12 divided by 3, because I was jumping 3 each time, gives me 4 jumps. Okay, guys, this is not rocket science. It's not that difficult. It just takes you to read. It takes you to be able to skip count and not get frustrated with the process. Now what we're going to do is, sometimes it doesn't always work out that things work out evenly. Okay, you've probably experienced this when you've had friends and you want to share things equally, and usually what happens, oh, there's one left over, right? And usually the person who brought the cookies gets the extra cookie. It's usually what could happen. When you have one left over, that's called a remainder. There's one left over, a remainder. Okay, that's what remainder means, leftover. All right, so when you go home for supper tonight, you can say, oh, we're having remainders, right? Because it's leftovers. Okay, run that by your parents and see how that goes. All right, so let's take a look. Bob wants to share 9 Mars bars with himself and 3 friends. So how many people are there all together? 4, and he has 9 Mars bars. Bob sets out 4 plates. Let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so Bob sets out 4 plates because he's going to share his Mars bars. He puts 1 bar on each plate at a time. Well, let's do that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And because I can't go equally across each time, again, I have 1 left over. That is my remainder. Okay, that is my leftover. All right, and that's all we're doing with remainders, guys, is we're sharing, and you got to remember that it needs to be shared equally. Okay, so one of these plates can't have 3. Two of these plates can't just have 1. They all have to have the same amount, and if there is some left over, then what we have is we have the remainder. Now, what we can also do is we can skip count. Okay, so we're going to go to 22, and we're going to go up by 5s. All right, we're just going to skip count. So 5, and I'm just putting a finger up every time I say a number. 5, 10, 15, or you can do a tally. 5, 10, 15, 20. If I go up one more, that gives me 25, and I can't do that because that's too much, and I'm only going to 22. So I have 20. So it equals 1, 2, 3, 4. So that was 20. So then 22 minus 20 gives me 2. So I have 2 left over, or I have 2 as a remainder. Okay, guys, this is our math lesson for today. It's not going to be that difficult. You guys are not going to have a hard time with that. But what I want you to remember is that with remainders and with division, it always has to be equal. If I have circles, if you noticed, all of these circles that I did all have equal amounts in them. This has equal amounts in it. This has equal amounts. This has equal amounts. This has equal amounts. With division, it has to be equal amounts in each set. Okay, and then if you can't, you have a remainder. And that's why we do that. We do remainders because we're bound to have some left over. That's just the way it works. Okay? That's our math lesson for today. This is Mr. Wicklum signing off.